Excerpts from Chapter 5 of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, narrated by Greducator. Excerpt 1. In summertime, twilights are long and peaceful. Often as not, Miss Maudie and I would sit silently on her porch, watching the sky go from yellow to pink as the sun went down. "Miss Maudie," I said one evening, "do you think Boo Radley's still alive?" "His name's Arthur, and he's alive," she said. She was rocking slowly in her big oak chair. "Do you smell my mimosa? It's like angel's breath this evening." "Yes'm. How do you know?" "Know what, child?" "That Mr. Arthur's still alive." What a morbid question. But I suppose it's a morbid subject. I know he's alive, Jean Louise, because I haven't seen him carried out yet. "Maybe he died and they stuffed him up the chimney." "Where did you get such a notion?" "That's what Jem said he thought they did." "Arthur Radley just stays in the house, that's all," said Miss Maudie. "Wouldn't you stay in the house if you didn't want to come out?" "Yes'm, but I'd want to come out. Why doesn't he?" Miss Maudie's eyes narrowed. "You know that story as well as I do." "I never heard why, though. Nobody ever told me why." Miss Maudie settled her bridge work. "You know old Mr. Radley was a foot-washing Baptist. Foot-washers believe anything that's pleasure is a sin. Did you know some of 'em came out of the woods one Saturday and passed by this place and told me and my flowers were going to hell?" "Your flowers, too?" "Yes, ma'am. They'd burn right with me. They thought I spent too much time in God's outdoors and not enough time inside the house reading the Bible." "That ain't right, Miss Maudie. You're the best lady I know." Miss Maudie grinned. "Thank you, ma'am. Thing is, foot-washers think women are a sin by definition. They take the Bible literally, you know." "Is that why Mr. Arthur stays in the house? To keep away from women?" "I've no idea." "It doesn't make sense to me. Looks like if Mr. Arthur was hankering after heaven, he'd come out on the porch at least. Atticus says God's loving folks like you love yourself." Miss Maudie stopped rocking, and her voice hardened. "You are too young to understand it," she said, "but sometimes the Bible in the hand of one man is worse than a whiskey bottle in the hand of your father." I was shocked. "Atticus doesn't drink whiskey," I said. "He never drunk a drop in his life. No, yes he did. He said he drank some one time and didn't like it." Miss Maudie laughed. "Wasn't talking about your father," she said. "What I meant was, if Atticus Finch drank until he was drunk, he wouldn't be as hard as some men are at their best. There are just some kind of men who are so busy worrying about the next world, they've never learned to live in this one, and you can look down the street and see the results." "Do you think they're true? All those things they say about Mr. Arthur?" "What things?" I told her. "No, child," she said. "That is a sad house. I remember Arthur Radley when he was a boy. He always spoke nicely to me, no matter what folks said he did. Spoke as nicely as he knew how." "You reckon he's crazy?" Miss Maudie shook her head. "If he's not, he should be by now. The things that happen to people we never really know. What happens in houses, behind closed doors, what secrets." "Atticus don't ever do anything to Jem and me in the house that he don't do in the yard," I said, feeling it my duty to defend my parent. "Gracious, child, I was raveling a thread. Wasn't even thinking about your father. But now that I am, I'll say this. Atticus Finch is the same in his house as he is on the public streets." Excerpt 2. Jem said placidly, "We are going to give a note to Boo Radley." "Just how?" I was trying to fight down the automatic terror rising in me. "I'm going around to the side of the house," said Jem. "We looked yesterday from across the street, and there's a shutter loose. Think maybe I can stick it on the windowsill at least." "All right then. What'd you write him?" Dill said, "We're asking him real politely to come out sometimes and tell us what he does in there. We said we wouldn't hurt him, and we'd buy him an ice cream." "You've all gone crazy. He'll kill us." Dill took a piece of paper from his pocket and gave it to Jem. The three of us walked cautiously toward the old house. "All clear," I said. "Not a soul in sight." Suddenly Atticus turns the corner and catches the children in the act. "Jem," he said, "what were you doing?" "Nothing, sir." "I don't want any of that. Tell me." We were just trying to give something to Mr. Radley." "What were you trying to give him?" "Just a letter." "Let me see it." Jem held out a filthy piece of paper. Atticus took it and tried to read it. "Why do you want Mr. Radley to come out?" Dill said, "We thought he might enjoy us," and dried up when Atticus looked at him. "Son," he said to Jem, "I'm going to tell you something, and tell you one time. Stop tormenting that man. That goes for the other two of you." What Mr. Radley did was his own business. If he wanted to come out, he would. If he wanted to stay inside his own house, he had the right to stay inside, free from the attentions of inquisitive children, which was a mild term for the likes of us. How would we like it if Atticus barged in on us without knocking, when we were in our rooms at night? We were, in effect, doing the same thing to Mr. Radley. What Mr. Radley did might seem peculiar to us, but it did not seem peculiar to him. Furthermore, had it never occurred to us that the civil way to communicate with another being was by the front door instead of a side window? Lastly, we were to stay away from that house until we were invited there. We were not to play an asinine game he had seen us playing, or make fun of anybody on this street or in this town. "We weren't making fun of him. We weren't laughing at him," said Jem. "We were just—" "So that was what you were doing, wasn't it? Making fun of him?" "No," said Atticus, "putting his life's history on display for the edification of the neighborhood." Jem seemed to swell a little. "I didn't say we were doing that. I didn't say it." Atticus grinned dryly. "You just told me," he said. "You stop this nonsense right now, every one of you." Jem gaped at him. "You want to be a lawyer, don't you?" Our father's mouth was suspiciously firm, as if he were trying to hold it in line. Jem decided there was no point in quibbling, and was silent. When Atticus went inside the house to retrieve a file he had forgotten to take to work that morning, Jem finally realized that he had been done in by the oldest lawyer's trick on record. He waited a respectful distance from the front steps, watched Atticus leave the house, and walk toward town. When Atticus was out of earshot, Jem yelled after him, "I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but I ain't so sure now."